Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. Well, it's another Two for Tuesday where I take questions and we watch some CSS videos that were submitted to us this week. This week I wrote a pretty funny article, actually. This guy named Tim gave me the idea to write an article on Don't Be a Tim. And basically, TIM stands for three different things that you want to avoid if you are thinking about military service. And real quick, one of those is don't think or talk too much about it, right? Do your research. Some people tend to overthink it. A lot of people tend to say, overhype it and say, this is what I'm going to go do. And they never pull the trigger. You can overthink and talk yourself right out of the age limits. I've seen it happen many times. So best thing to do is keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, focus on what you want to do, learn as much as you can about what you want to do. There's hundreds of jobs in the military, and you should research that thoroughly versus um, going into a recruiter's office and saying, "Hey, what's the military got for me?" That's a horrible way to do it. Second one, the I in Tim stands for don't idealize the profession. A lot of people go into it overly optimistic on all the wonderful things that they are going to do. But when they get there, they realize there's still a lot of hard work and learning and long days turn into nights. And if you're going into spec ops, it's hard. I mean, the days are hard, tough. You're going to have a really good reason why you want to be there and enduring a lot of challenging uh, days and nights that go into being in the military. Um, and then M is don't just maintain the minimum standard. Exceeding the standard is the standard. And that's going to be very important when you do a job where your life, your buddy's life, someone you're trying to help's life is in your hands. And your ability, your physical ability, your tactical training, and you being able to be calm under pressure are all part of you being able to do your job and actually help somebody or help yourself. So, maintaining the minimum standards, probably not going to be the best person for the job when it's a life or death situation. There you go. So that is say that don't be a Tim. I thought it was kind of funny. It's on military.com. I'll share it later. Um, but anyway, if you guys have some questions, send them. While this gets moving, I'm just going to go ahead and start showing some CSS videos because I got a few ready to go. Let me get this one going here. Let's see here. Share. There we go. Share my screen. You guys should be able to see that, right? There you go. Good. All right. So I'm going to back it up a little bit and just watch this good streamline, kick off the wall. Here we go. We got a combat swimmer stroke. She's pretty good. She is hitting somewhere in that 47, 48 second 50. But I think this one was one of those where she was over gliding. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Yeah, this is one where she's over gliding and it was way too slow. She hit this one in like 54 and she went from 54, 55. Because if you count this, watch this 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. I should not be able to say that fourth Mississippi. And what happens there when you do that, you lose all your momentum. Notice how slow she's going whenever she's about to pick up the next stroke. And notice all this surface tension right here is like swimming with the brakes on. You want to be underwater. So by reducing her glide by just a second, sped this thing up by about 8 seconds faster. And I'll show you, because this one right here is, you can see it, it's 54, 55 seconds. All right. So let me get the other one here, and we'll do this one. This one we fixed. Let me share my screen again. All right. So back this up. All right. So she kicks off the wall. And we'll set a timer on this one. There's a timer right there. So notice the glide difference here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. She's actually going a little bit too fast for the first few. She evens it out here in a second. You'll see 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. There you go. That's perfect. And this is much faster. And it only added like a stroke per length to her swim, but it sped her up by like 8 seconds. I think she does this one in like 47, 48 seconds versus 54, 55 seconds. And that right there is how you swim it fast. Boom, 47, 48. Nice. Yeah, I like that. That's good. So anyway, all we did there, we didn't have to teach her anything. All we had to do is say, whenever you're doing this stroke, it goes 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull during the glide. A lot of people underglide and they waste all that momentum where they're going a yard per second. So they waste, 2 to 3 yards of not having to move and just glide, which is a big energy conserver, right? So definitely recommend learning the sequence of the stroke. And if you notice, she had a good top arm pull, good bottom arm pull, good scissor kick and glide. And then that glide was the first one was at 4 seconds, second one's at 3 seconds, 2 to 3. And then you hit that, 48 second 50. Now, the trick is to get in shape to do that 10 more times. And the way you do that is with my favorite workout, which if you haven't heard it, you're new here, you haven't heard me talk about it, but it's called the 50-50. And I'm going to walk you through it real quick because I have it set up in an article here. Thought I did. Chrome tab. There we go. All right. So you guys should be able to see this, right? Yeah. All right. So going to scroll a little bit. So this is the workout that I've been, having folks do 5-6 times a week. Go from 10 minutes in a 500-yard or meter swim to about 8-minute zone. Some even sub 8. In fact, we had a guy hit 7:13 the other day. First time he's ever been under 8. So he dropped about a minute off his time between time and 500s. And it's a free workout. Here it is, right here, 50-50. So warm up with a 500-yard swim, mix it with freestyle, CSS, whatever. Stretch out a little bit during it. No real time limit on this. Just get it done. Try to do it nonstop if you can. Because one day I want you to be able to say, when you take this PST and that swim is first event, I want you to be able to say, hey, yeah, this is my warm up. So this 500-yard swim is just my warm up on this test. It takes a lot of the anxiety of that, swim, push up, sit up, pull up, mile and a half, run test. When you can say, this first event is just my warm up, easy day. So anyway, what you do is you do 10 reps or 10 sets of swim 50 meters fast. You can skip, breathe. You can really push it hard, do a sprint, and then you do 50 meters of CSS at your goal pace. So 50-second 50s is what I try to get everybody to. And if you can maintain that and catch your breath while you do it, from being winded from this first 50, catch your breath in the second 50, that's ideal. That's when you know you're starting to get in shape. And then this minimal rest here is literally minimal rest. Ultimate goal is be able to rest with this 50, but when you first start out, that won't be possible. What most people do is they try to set this 50-50 on a 2-minute time limit. So let's say you hit that first 50 in like 45 seconds, you hit the second 50 in 50 seconds, maybe 55 seconds, you got yourself, 15, 20 seconds to rest before the 2-minute mark. So there you go. That's the 50-50. One of my favorites. Highly recommend practicing it. If you've never done it, I'd recommend doing it. All right. Let's take some questions here. Good questions. Let's see. To help measure leg strength endurance, how many reps should someone be able to squat 225? That's going to depend on a lot of factors. Depends on your body weight. I like to do body weight squats for, sets of 50 reps. I'm about 200, 205. It's up to you. I don't really think that's necessarily the best event. I personally like chest carry lunges for a quarter mile. So grab a log or about a 50-pound sandbag, put it in your arms like this, like you're carrying a log. That's going to be a little more applicable to what you're doing if you're preparing for buds, because I promise you, you'll have a log across your chest and you're standing and doing lunges for at least a quarter mile. So the if you can build up to a point where a quarter mile chest carry lunge with 40 to 50 pounds does not make you sore the next day, now you're talking about strength endurance and the ability to recover quickly. Because if you go there and you've never done that before, I promise you, you will be sore for the next 2 days. And that may affect 4-mile timed runs and swims with fins and other things like that. So I love the I love the quarter mile lunge for strength endurance training. But for 225, shoot, I don't know. I mean, I rarely go much higher than 225 these days. Personally, being able to do that 15, 20 times would, not be a challenge. But I don't know. I don't really do a whole lot of 225 reps. Okay, my favorite books, nonfiction or fitness. Jeff Nichols and I did a podcast on this. So if you search through the YouTube channel, you will see 2 videos. We did one on fitness, and the other one is not fitness related. So we did 5 books each. So there's a total of 20 books that we recommend. You can find that if you scroll back on the videos. Pretty decent at CSS. Watching your critiques makes me a better coach for my friends. Cool. Teaching swimming in any capacity is a difficult task. Thank you. No problem. I enjoy teaching. I'd say if there's something I do well out of all the elements of tactical fitness, it's the ability to coach people with swimming. I have taught all types of people how to swim. In fact, I would say probably my favorite stories are when the first time someone ever swims across an entire swimming pool is with me. And then 6 months later, they are at buds and getting through buds. And then 6 months after that, they're graduating buds. That's a cool story I like to tell. Anyway, let's see. Is the buds warning order calisthenics set reps progression a good program? It's all right. I would say it's a good place to start. You're going to get some good volume. You're going to build up some volume, which you need to do. It's free. Can't argue with the price. You may have to personalize it a little bit to fit your abilities, but it's not horrible. It's definitely not the capstone program that I would recommend anybody to just do the buds warning order and call it a day. Or call it a training cycle and go to buds. You may need to lift some weights. You may need to run more. May need to swim more. There's a lot to it. So depends on your weaknesses is, I guess, a better answer. Let's see. Is it worth using bands, weights to strengthen your tibialis anterior? Some people do that. Yes. Some people can also do it by doing heel raises, toe raises. Just go back and forth. Heel raise, toe raise, heel raise, toe raise. Do flex point, flex point. Add some weight to it if you want, or bands on your foot. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. That's a way to do it. I haven't really done a whole lot of that. I usually just use my body weight for it personally. Okay, Stu, if most of the aspects of training are squared away, would you recommend simply focusing on my weaknesses and attacking them instead of following a general training program? Absolutely. I mean, you still follow a general training program, but you need to get smart and understand how to personalize it for you. And if that program isn't doesn't have at least some of your weaknesses addressed, then you probably need to find another program or be smart and figure out how to add your weaknesses into that program without overdoing or screwing up what the program is trying to do. Right. So there's a lot to juggle in this, especially if you think of what a tactical athlete is trying to do. A tactical athlete is trying to get good at power and strength, muscle stamina and endurance, cardio endurance, and multiple modes. So run, swim, ruck. Um, you got flexibility, mobility, you have speed and agility, and you have grip. So all of those elements of fitness are very important to the tactical athlete, whether they are preparing for basic training or they're preparing for a selection or they are just trying to maintain their skills to be able to do their job. I mean, that is what tactical fitness is. And you don't need to be world class in any of them, but you need to be good at all of them. And that is different than your typical athlete because a typical athlete just needs to be really good or great at a couple of them and they don't even care about the others. So balancing strengths and weaknesses may be a part of learning or understanding, okay, this is my athletic history. I'm a powerlifting football player. I'm really good at strength and power, have some speed and agility, but that's not going to help me on my PST because I need to do high repetition calisthenics and I need to do some cardio that's longer than 100 yards of running. So now you have the journey, you understand the goal and your weaknesses. My advice in that situation is what I did is I didn't even touch weights for over a year. And all I did was triathlon training and calisthenics. And that gave me a good foundation to move forward and become a well-rounded um, tactical athlete. I was still able to maintain my strength and power, and I was still able to build on those weaknesses, but took some time. It was pretty challenging. So yeah, that's what you got to look into when you're thinking about strengths and weaknesses and training and generic programs and how you fit those into your overall planning. Okay, I got you. Any civilian workout programs? Yes, I do. I mean, a lot of civilians use my programs there, Larry Bird. Um, um, you go to stewsmithfitness.com, you will see countless. Um, some are tactically oriented, but not necessarily any specific branch of service or unit. And then I have some general fitness for just people trying to lose weight and start getting healthier as well in the general fitness section. So there you go. To the person that mentioned tib anterior, walking, running backwards, yes, while dragging a weight. Very good idea, Zach. Great idea. Let's see. I need to drop weight. I'm a power lifter and switched up from a bro style split. Understand, but don't seem like I burn calories. I need to run better and do calisthenics for military. Any advice? Yes, I would suggest doing cardio and doing calisthenics. Drop drop the bro split. Quit training lifting like I just mentioned. I didn't lift for over a year. Helped me a lot. And if you think about what triathlon training allows you to do, allows you to build an aerobic base with 2/3 of your cardio being non-impact cardio. So if you need to drop some weight because running hurts, only 1/3 of your cardio is running based. So you don't have to necessarily go out and run 5 miles in a day. You can do 30-minute swim, a 30-minute bike, get an hour's worth of cardio, and maybe only run a mile and a half. And then slowly progress that volume of running as you pull back on some of the other non-impact cardio if time is an issue. Um, but yeah, I would get the calisthenics cardio workout. Be honest with you, if that's what you're trying to do and you're trying to lose weight, this is how you do it. And you don't need a whole lot of equipment out of it. I'll put a link in here for the calisthenics cardio. This is just an article about calisthenics and cardio book. Um, and build your own home gym if you need it, but calisthenics and cardio is in there if you want to check it out. Yeah. Leg sink while breathing, doing side stroke. Any tips? Yes. Try not to pop your head up when you turn to breathe. Or if you're not turning to breathing, you're probably popping your head up. So here's the problem. Streamlined body position. You need to research that. Should be flat and very streamlined, right? The minute you are not streamlined, right, you start slowing down. And then when you pop your head up to breathe, your body hits like that. So now you're just kind of plowing the water and you're swimming diagonally. All the force that you have created are just diagonally swimming. So you're basically treading water and moving slowly while you do it. So you want to try to stay flat. So body position is very important. You need to research streamline body position. In fact, I even done it for you because I wrote an article on it, and I'm putting it in the thing right here. Number one most important skill for swim speed is your streamline body position. Okay. Highly recommend you read that article. And then the other article that I highly recommend is the sequence of the combat swimmer stroke, which I say it all the time. It's pull, breathe, kick, glide, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. And that is the sequence that will help you with your CSS. So while we're talking CSS, let's go ahead and just show another CSS. What do you say? So I got one pulled up. This is one that was submitted this week. Pretty good. And it is right here. All right, sharing my screen. You guys should be able to see that. Now we kick off the wall. Notice that streamline arm position right there. Look at that. Biceps on the ears, one hand on top of the other, right? He's not swimming like this, side by side, arms bent, like this. Get those arms squeezing your head, all right? And kick off and glide. Good long glide, and it goes right into the stroke. You don't have to do that breaststroke pullout. In fact, some instructors don't allow it. So you need to learn how to do it both ways and transition off the wall. Don't lose any momentum and go right into the stroke. Now, right here looks pretty good. So we got 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi pull. And I think he submitted this one. Can't remember if this was his good side or his bad side. I think this might have been his good side. Yeah. This looks good. Now notice his kick. That's a breaststroke kick. Nothing wrong with that. If you have some breaststroke kicking background, I highly recommend it. Most running athletes, land athletes, do a little better with the scissor kick versus the breaststroke kick. So whatever's more comfortable for you, it is dependent on what's comfortable for you. So there is a level of preference there to how you want to kick. The only thing is when you wear scuba fins, you can't do that kick. So you're going to have to learn how to flutter kick and scissor kick, and both sides for miles. So 99% of your swims at Buds will be with fins. I don't have anything to say on this one. That's really good. Good streamline. And that was a 48-second 50 there, I think. So, yeah, can't argue with the results. He's getting it done. Notice that breaststroke kick. He's still gliding. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Pull. Easy. Looks easy. Getting 48 seconds. Now all he has to do is get in shape. Do that 9 more times. He's got an 8-minute, 8:15 easy. Boom. Nice. That's a good one. All right, 19 going for buds, and I'm doing my first solo jump after a week. Do I have any advice? Solo jump. I'm assuming that just means free fall. No, just listen to your instructor. You know, that's about all you can do. You know, any of these tactical activities that you do is all about listening to the instruction, practicing, going over, this procedures, point after point after point, go after the emergency procedures, point after point after point, and just kind of what we call dirt dive it. So anytime you're about to go do something, you're going to hash out everything that's going on, that's about to go on. You have it, nailed down. Everybody in your group understands what's happening. And then when it's over, you rehash it, go over it, and see what you could have done better, what went wrong, any contingencies that you should have dealt with, all of those things. And that's all about tactical training. That's the fun part. I really don't get into a lot of tactical training other than just what I just said. I kind of stay in my lane and focus on fitness. So, yeah, there you go. Let's see. Come on, you guys got some question? Let's see, that option 40 looking more appealing after every pool session. All right, that's pretty funny. Now, we just had a guy get an option 40 contract, and that was his first choice. He wanted to be a ranger, still, leaves here real soon. Got $30,000 because he wanted to be a ranger when he signed up. So the Army is paying between 20, 30,000. Can't remember if it's SF. I think SF's also getting 30,000 to join with the option 40 or 18 X-ray. Or you can also do the I think it's the 11X, which might be an airborne option. If you get an airborne option, I think that's a $11,000 or $10,000 bonus. And Air Force recruiters are passing out $50,000 bonuses for PJ, CCT, TAC-P. I think EOD gets 40. SR, all those jobs. So there's some bonuses out there. Navy SEAL, no bonuses. They don't need people, period. They're full. And pretty much all they're looking for is enough people to replace people who are getting out, whether they are retiring or they're getting out after their enlistment is up. So let's see. What swim and run times do you think would put you in a top 5% of your buds class? Well, I will say this. I'm going to give you 2 of them because the first one doesn't really matter. No one cares what your PST score is, right? So, but I'll give you some top 5% examples. Top 5% 500-yard swim is anything in the 7 range. I've even seen some people break 6 minutes on a 500-yard swim. So I think the fastest I've ever seen, the 1%ers are the 540, 545s. But if you can get 645, you're probably in the top 5%, right? On the 500-yard swim without fins. Now let's put that into a 2-mile ocean swim with a pair of fins on. And if you can get that in 60 minutes, you're going to be in the top of the class, top 5% of the class, 60 minutes. So that means a mile every 30 minutes, which isn't that hard in a pool, but in the open water, it gets a little more challenging because you got to swim straight. You got currents and tides throwing you off. You got to swim with a buddy, stay next to him. and that's just a little bit challenging sometimes. So it does slow you down. I think first phase swim times is 85 minutes. So you have 85 minutes to pass that thing. I think I was always in the high 60s, low 70s when I was swimming. So always 15, 20 minutes underneath the minimum standard, which was really nice to get an extra 20 minutes to, go shower, hang out, dry out, while, the people that finish last get hammered for another 20 or 30 minutes, and you're able to eat up and rest and get ready for the next evolution. So it does behoove you to swim fast. And if you can keep it at a yard per second, either with fins or without fins, you're going to be in that zone. So that's what I would recommend. Now for the runs, whew, if you can break 8 minutes on that mile and a half, you're definitely top 1 to 5%. It's pretty impressive to be able to hit a 7:30. It's probably about, I think the fastest I've ever seen is like a 7:15. Um, but 7:45s to 8s are definitely top 5% on the mile and a half. On the 4 mile timed run, I would say if you're hitting about 25, 24, 25, it's a 6 minute mile pace, you're going to be in the top 1 to 5% of that. Not many people break 24, or I should say they may break 24 minutes in the first few weeks of buds, but by Hell Week, the fastest runners typically aren't there anymore because they just got crushed by boats and logs. So the guys that are somewhere in the 25, 26 minute range are definitely top 5, top 10% of the class. I always try to get everybody to that 28-minute 4 mile timed run. And if you can do that easily and maybe hit 26, 30, 27, you're going to be top 10, 15% of the class with that time. And you got 32 minutes for first phase, 31 minutes for second phase, and 30 minutes for third phase. So that gets you well under the minimum standard. Once again, you never have to worry about failing. Let's see. Any tips for easing into heavy fins? Sure. Should I be finning from my thighs or from my ankles? All right, so lot to fix on that one. I got a couple of good or not articles, but videos on this YouTube channel that show swimming with fins. And even on my Instagram channel too, there's a couple in there that we fixed that were kind of bending their knees too much. So it's really more from the hips that you're swimming, not your thighs or your ankles. Yes, your ankles need to have mobility and you need to have a point of a ballerina so your feet aren't hurting when all that stress goes down on that fin and it hyperflexes that ankle. You need to really work on your ankle mobility first. So the way you do this is, one, you stretch your ankles. Go to YouTube, look up ankle mobility exercises. You'll see some ballerina doing some crazy stuff, standing on her toes with a perfect ballerina's point. Don't need to get that good, but somewhere in that range. And start off with smaller fins. I usually start off with a pair of slip-on fins and then gradually increase the rigidity of those fins by, getting a pair of scuba fins, and then finally going into the rocket or jet fins that they issue at buds. That's the progression you need to go. But yes, it's more from the hips. You can slightly bend your knees, but you don't want to bicycle. Don't want to look like you're riding a bicycle when you're trying to fin. You want to try to keep everything, you keep your legs slightly straight and you're pushing water with the front of the fin, of the front leg of the, bottom of the fin, and then you're pushing water with the top of the leg that goes backwards. And then they come together. Or you can do constant flutter kicks. You can do a try scissor kick, little flutter kicks. Sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't. What most people do is just constant flutter kicks on their left, constant flutter kicks on the right. Okay, good question. Best dinner for a morning workout. Um, I typically go with good protein source, fish, meat, chicken, um, and then a lot of vegetables. I every dinner I have broccoli, asparagus, sometimes potatoes in there, sweet potato. Um, I guess that's about it. Um, hydration's important. Lots of water. If it's hot and sweaty, you definitely want to put some salt on your food just to get some more sodium, because you're definitely going to lose some sodium in the morning and be drenched. Um, Biggest thing too is have some extra sugar along with you when you are training hard in the morning. So I usually have two things. I have like a body armor drink that I just carry with me. I may not need it, but if I'm starting to get a little lightheaded, um, because the banana that I ate wasn't enough after an hour and a half, 2 hours of getting after it, um, I'll probably take a few sips of that carbohydrate drink just to kind of keep my blood sugar levels a little higher. Then, if I'm sweating profusely, I'll drink a water with some electrolytes in it. So we use, uh, let's see, that's my dog there. We use Drip Drop and Liquid IV. They're great to be putting into your water if you're sweating profusely. If you're not, you don't need them. If you're sweating profusely or you're in arid environments and the sweat evaporates immediately, that's important too. So not only do you need a good meal, the night before you work out, because that's going to help you two ways. That's going to help you recover from the workout you did earlier, but it's also going to help you prepare for the next workout that you do. And then you have breakfast, small breakfast. I usually just have a banana with some water, and then go do the workout. But I carry some backup just in case I need it. Another thing I have just in case I need it, and this is very rare that I use it, I'd say I probably used it twice this whole summer, is a can of chicken noodle soup when I am sweating so much that I probably lost 5 or 6 pounds of water. Um, I'm running and my shoes are squishy, just from sweating in them. Uh, that sucks. And the salt and or the high nitrogen, the calcium and the potassium in a can of chicken noodle soup is very high. It's like a couple bananas worth of potassium along with 800 900 milligrams of sodium. It's a lot of sodium, but when you're sweating a lot, you could use it. That's a good way to prevent you from cramping if you're trying to go swim after that hot and humid PT run workout. So, whew, good question. What's a rough calorie range for ideal performance and recovery? That just depends on you, man. Depends on your body weight, male or female. Um, I typically I try not to overeat because I am now an easy gainer. Whereas when I was a teenager, I was a hard gainer. Now I'm an easy gainer and a hard loser. So I try to keep it on the lower end. So I usually around 2,500, 3,000 calories a day for me. But I'm not trying to gain weight. In fact, I'm trying to lose a little bit more weight, and I'll be at my college weight in like 5 more pounds. So I'm just trying to maintain and lose that final 5. Um, so it's kind of up to you. Depends on a lot, your body weight and height and all of that. So Lou and John from North Carolina. Hey, Lou and John, finished the 100 miler. Woo! How important is completing a challenge physical event prior to selection in order to building mental resiliency? Well, funny you should ask that because I had this big talk with my mids that also ran a 100 miler recently. And I always start off with this: there's a fine line between mental toughness and stupidity, right? I've seen people do those 100-mile runs and they come back so messed up that they can't run for the next 2 to 3 months. So I may run 100 miles in about a month, right? Because I'm hitting about 25 a week, right? So think about it this way, right? If you come back injured, you can't run for 2 or 3 months. I have run 300 miles in the fact that you've only run 100 miles. And all you really did was go through a gut check and get hurt. Now you're limping around, got a stress fracture in your foot, stress fracture in your whatever, your hip, femur. I've seen it all. It happens all the time. Or just tendonitis so bad you can't run for, a month, right? So regardless, there's a cost that comes to running those kind of events, especially if you're a bigger guy that doesn't really train for those kind of events. Yeah, are events like that good at building mental toughness, resiliency? Yeah, some people think so. I personally think that, running when you don't feel like it every day makes an additional boost to your mental toughness and resiliency a little stronger. So, I've run 5 or 6 times a week. When you ran that 100 miler, I've done that for the last 3 months, 5 to 6 times a week for the last 3 months on days when I absolutely didn't feel like getting up out of bed, but I did anyway. Those are events that are also very good at building mental toughness and resiliency. You don't need to kick yourself into nuts to get yourself mentally tough. You get mentally tough by persistence and consistent training, even when you don't feel like it. Now, that is my opinion, right? I like a tough workout just as much as anybody. Um, but I won't go do a marathon to see if I'm mentally tough to do a marathon. That's just my opinion once again. But good job if you did it and you didn't get hurt. All right. Methods for ear pressure equalization underwater. My suggestion is take a scuba class and you will learn something called the Valsalva maneuver. Okay. I want you to Google it. Valsalva maneuver. In fact, I will write it here for you because a lot of people misspell it. So Google this. That's going to get water pressure out of your ears. Valsalva maneuver. All right. Let's see. Any recommendations for slight shin splints, beginner, runner, not sure what to do? Yeah, I got some articles on shin splints. In fact, written a couple of them recently. I did one with this doctor of physical therapies. We call him Seth. He works out with us. Going to give him a shout out for writing this article. And then I did another one with a couple other folks that we were talking about recurring shin splints and healing tips and a lot of exercises to help rebuild the shin, but also maybe even help you prevent those shin splints. So check those out. I just put 2 links in the comment section. That should be helpful for you. Yeah, it was funny. You guys that just ran that 100 miler, the guys made a T-shirt for it, and they put my quote in there. There's a fine line between mental toughness and stupidity, and I thought that was a great quote to have on a T-shirt when you're running 100 miles. So the goal is don't cross that line. Push it, build mental toughness, build some endurance and resiliency, but don't get injured. And that's a hard line to toe because if you're training for any spec ops job, you're always flirting with that line, and going over it can lead to a couple things: overtraining syndromes where you're just burned out, all your numbers go to crap, or it gets worse and you are now injured and you can't train at all. Right. So, and you want to avoid as much of that as you can. Or you have to work around an injury, which is annoying because now you're going to create a weakness that you didn't want to create in the first place. So, last thing you want to do is have running as a weakness and then go run 100 miles and then you can't run for the next 3 months. That would suck. Then you got to bike, got to swim more. You might get good at that, but you might not get pretty good at running again anytime soon. Yes, I have a great story of one of my Bud's classmates who I was shocked that guy made it through. I mean, I'm talking 3% body fat, maybe, because we did an actual body fat test right before we were doing the second phase 6 mile swim. Um, and he was he was always cold, but he was tough. He was probably 5'10", 145 pounds, maybe. So he was tall, skinny dude, but he made it through, just tough as nails. And I'd never seen anybody shake that hard whenever he was cold, and he was cold all the time. I mean, he was cold in third phase. When we were patrolling, he wasn't even wet. So it was he was always cold, but he was tough, hardcore, man. You got to really want it. Got to get used to that cold, I guess. Would you recommend doing long cardio sessions while doing hypertrophy program for selection? Your definition of long needs to be explained better. I would recommend this. If you're preparing for selection and you're doing any weightlifting, whether it's a strength program or a hypertrophy program, I recommend running short and fast during your strength or hypertrophy programs, where you still focus on that 6-minute mile for your mile and a half, and you focus on that sub 7-minute mile for your 4-mile timed runs. You still need to maintain your cardio. You need to swim afterwards too. I mean, or ruck. 4 miles running or more. No, I wouldn't even run. There's no need to run any more than 4 miles. I would probably cap your mileage per week at like 15, 20 at a max during a lift cycle. In fact, that's what we do. We do our winter lift cycle outdoors now, just because COVID drove us outdoors, and we loved it so much that and we saw a lot of gains outdoors. Not only did we see strength gains, but we also saw running gains because we ran to stay warm when we were lifting outdoors. Plus, it was just fun, and we didn't have to worry about COVID procedures and all that stuff. We were just killing it outdoors. But everybody got faster in their runs, and they also got stronger. So yes, you can run and swim during your lift cycles. Just make it different. Don't do long, slow cardio and just, take a lot of time to do it. You should be running 15, 20 minutes max, and getting as much mileage as you can out of that 15, 20 minutes. Or, maybe once a week we do a 4-mile run, but that was it. And that would be kind of like a warm up before leg day, for instance. So, good question. Any tips in fact, let me show you. See this book right here? This is all about that. This was our winter lift cycle last year. We're going to do the same thing this year, where you do 3 weeks of strength training and 15 miles a week of running, a little bit of swimming with fins on leg days, maybe just a little bit of fast 50-50 work on upper body days for swimming. Then on the 4th week of every month, that cycle, we drop the weights and we do calisthenics and cardio, focusing on PST scores. And that cycle of 3 weeks strength, 1 week PST calisthenics called block periodization. We used to just, every third or fourth week, we'd give ourselves like a deload week and kind of pull back a little bit. But this time I decided, let's make a deload week, a calisthenics cardio week. We shift energy systems, shift focus, and that was a good rest for the strength and power stuff that we were doing. And it was a good focus on the muscle stamina endurance that we needed to maintain. And to my surprise, my goal was just to maintain the calisthenics and cardio while we focused on the strength and power numbers. But we actually got better in both by doing a 3-to-1 block periodization. So if you have two different programs, let's say you have Complete Guide to Navy SEAL Fitness and you have Tactical Strength, a weightlifting program, try it this way. Try Tactical Strength for 3 weeks, and then try uh, calisthenics cardio, Navy SEAL Fitness, or something like that for a week. 3-to-1 ratio, or you can just get the book that does it all for you back there. And we did the reverse over the summer. We did a 3-week calisthenics and cardio cycle, followed by a 1-week lift cycle with a little bit decrease in running volume. And the big thing that helped, we didn't notice a lot of huge gains like we did in the winter. But what we noticed was nobody got running injuries this year. If we did, it was very minor. I got a couple shin splints, but that was it. Um, uh, it was a good little deload week from the running by throwing in the lifts. So anyway, good question. See, any tips for increasing rucking pace? Let's see, prep training, plateauing at 13-minute miles. You know what? See if I ruck 3 different ways. I will do a regular walk, and I try to make that regular walk like a 15-minute mile pace. So that's my 15-minute mile pace, is my kind of fast-paced walk. It's not a stroll in the park, but it's not a power walk either. The second pace is a power walk, with walking with a little more intention. And you probably get like 12:30, maybe 13-minute mile pace with a power walk. That might be where you're at. I do a shuffle, and I see you say without shuffling. I do a shuffle and I get faster than 13. It's, for me personally, it is difficult for me to break 12 without shuffling or jogging. Not really a jog, it's a short stride shuffle. So think of your normal jogging stride, cut it in half, and that's a shuffle, right? And you can just pick up the cadence, and pop, 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 and you get yourself even a 10-minute. I've even done 10-minute miles with a shuffle, maybe with like 40, 50 pounds, but nothing more than that. I've never done 10-minute miles with anything over 45, 50 pounds. Anything more than that, you're definitely going to be slower. So it depends on the weight that you're carrying. And the biggest thing I would do is, maybe work on some walking lunges with under a load. Work on some speed on your legs, maybe with some high resistance bike pyramids, where you're really, trying to do some Tabata intervals, where you 20-second sprint, 10-second easy, 20-second sprint, 10-second easy, and see if that can help you with your pace of power walking, which is where you are right now with that pace. That's what I would do. See how that feels. And just keep your mileage, nice steady progression with whatever mileage that you're trying to do. What are your thoughts on using CBD for pain? Assume your DOD related candidates can't use it, but what about others? I use it all the time. I love it. I don't really have a lot of pain right now, though, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm on CBD or if it's because I do a lot of stretching and mobility work. I actually can do like this body, scan, and actually say, damn, I don't have any pain right now, which is pretty good for 52 years old. I'm very lucky. And then especially after mobility day, when we do mobility days on Wednesday or Thursdays of the week, walking out of there and actually feeling beyond no pain is life changing for me. So I can't really say that it's because I've been on it and I've been off of it, um, just to test it out because I wanted to see, like, wow, see if this stuff really works. Um, and I will say this: I think the jury's out on it. I do get better sleep out of it. So I do get better sleep at night, which I think might help with, just recovery and some of the pains of recovery that are very common. So, yeah, unfortunately, DOD can't take that stuff. All right, let's see. How can I switch from a bodybuilding mindset every time I work out to a functional weight loss endurance hit type workouts? Every time I go work out, I just default to whatever. I would get on a plan, and I started off this journey, reading Joe Weider and Arnold Schwarzenegger workouts, back in the 80s, right? I was 12, 13 years old in 1982, lifting weights and trying to get big. And that was what you did. I mean, that was a bodybuilding mindset. Then, football came into my world and powerlifting started happening. We actually had some good powerlifting coaches, and I evolved into a powerlifter. And then after that, I evolved into a military guy where I had to wind up playing rugby in college while I was in the Naval Academy. And that was a different level of cardio than I was used to. So I slowly evolved out of the powerlifting mode and got into more endurance and calisthenics and training triathlons while I was playing rugby. And it's been a very long transition, is all I'm saying, Danny. I wish I could say that um, it's an easy thing to like turn in the page of a book. For me, it took several years just to transition from powerlifting football player to spec ops candidate. But I did drop weightlifting like a bad habit and never touched weights for, I think it was almost 18 months before I touched a weight, and I was just doing calisthenics and cardio. And the cool thing about it, when I did lift weights again, I did a 6-week lift cycle just to see where I was. And in the end of those 6 weeks, I was back to, normal 1 rep maxes back then, which were pretty high back then. So you didn't really lose a lot of strength out of it. So best thing to do is get on a plan and follow the plan. Because if it's not in the plan or it's not in the schedule, it's not going to happen. Doesn't exist. So would it be a good idea to switch over to prioritizing rucking, fin swim, and 4-mile runs 3 times a week in a couple of months prior to shipping? Yes. I don't necessarily know if you need to do it 3 times a week. 2 to 3 times a week is sufficient. We usually swim with fins and ruck on leg days. So, and we only do 2 leg days a week. Sometimes we'll do a third leg day a week, or we'll do a third like spec ops triathlon. So we'll do 2 leg days and a spec ops tri, where we'll do it's called a run swim ruck. Basically, we'll run 4 miles, we'll swim 2 miles or 1 mile, and then we'll ruck 4 miles. It's a great little workout, and it takes a couple hours to do. So that's how we'll do it. So yes, I wouldn't necessarily prioritize rucking. I would prioritize 4-mile timed runs, unless you're going Army. 4-mile timed runs are more important than rucking, though you need to ruck as well. How to stay in shape during boot camp now, since you don't even get to take a PST. You got to just do it on your own. That's a lot of push-ups, a lot of flutter kicks, a lot of lunges, just whenever you can. A lot of people get laundry duty, so there's these big racks where you can go back there and do some pull-ups. I would recommend that. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to do. But it's nothing new. Every kid that went to Buds or Swick or EOD training, got out of shape at boot camp. It's a shame that happens, but it does. All right, couple more questions. We've been at this for an hour, about to sign off. What's more important for squats while prepping? 250 for 10 or 315 for 2? I mean, it just depends. One's a overall strength program, and the other one's a little bit more muscle stamina. Um, I personally would say body weight or 50 pounds um, added to your shoulder or to your chest, and you do that for hundreds of reps is going to be useful. However, having a foundation of strength, um, being able to do body weight for 10 plus times is smart. Be able to do body weight and a half for 5 reps, good. So you're in the zone there. I mean, I think both of those are needed. It's a good foundation of strength, and that will help you with your overall durability. And chances are you won't get crushed by a boat and log. So, I mean, I was probably 350, 400 um, ability to squat when I was going through. Though I hadn't lifted in quite some time, so I didn't really test it. I did put 315 on there for I think 5 when I was prior to going, just see if I could do it. And it wasn't a problem, but it's definitely challenging. Uh, you need that foundation, but at the same time, you also need to be able to go for a very long time on body weight reps. So a Murph would probably be a better judge of 300 squats with a weight vest on is a better test of squatting endurance or leg endurance for buds, if that makes sense. All right. Okay, here's a good one. Solid run swim times to get through buds. I think I just mentioned this earlier. Um, but if you can hit a 28-minute 4-mile timed run and hit a 70-minute 2-mile ocean swim, 75-minute 2-mile ocean swim, that's solid. It's not top of the class, but it's also not bottom of the class either. You're probably going to be in the top 25%. And in a school that loses 70 to 80% of its class every class, you want to be in that top 20, 25% in everything you do, just so you're not part of that attrition rate. All right, so I do apologize. I do need to go. If you guys have stuck around this long, if I didn't answer your question, just send it to me. You can either send it to me at stu@stusmith.com or send it to me in the comment section, and I'll get to it. Let's see what else. CSS critiques. I actually have a TikTok where I post nothing but CSS critiques on there. If you want to go check that out, same as my Instagram channel. I do post a lot of them on that as well. StuSmith50 for both of those. Having a Halloween giveaway right now. StuSmithFitness.com. Go to the blog section or article section. You'll see you get a funny picture of you in a costume doing your fitness stuff. Like today, we had Mike Myers doing pull-ups. He won a 25% coupon code and a free book, and he's up for a free 12-week online coaching. At the end of this 10 days of Halloween, all 10 will be put in a new test to see who gets the 12-week coaching program. So there you go. Go to StuSmithFitness.com, check it out. And if you got questions, let me know. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.